So why hip hop is dying, man? A video by BlackySpeakz, man. Link to his channel down below if you haven't heard of him before, but he's doing amazing numbers, man. Go show some support. He made this video about 2 days ago. I've been gone on the weekend, so I'm trying to catch up on videos that I should have made before I left, but I just did not have the time to. But either way, man, we're going to get into the discussion. And just seeing that title just lets me know that the conversation is being brought up. And so I don't necessarily think that hip hop is dying, but if I was to say why I think it would, to be honest with you, it just seems like hip hop is one of those genres where you can easily get into. Like you don't like think about it, like R&B, like you have to know how to sing unless you want to throw some stupid auto-tune crap in there. But like the people who actually blow up and are insane, like they can actually sing, you know what I'm saying? But in hip hop, if you try to take somebody who don't necessarily have the best flow, best rhythm, best lyrics, you can get them to have maybe a one-hit wonder here or there, some TikTok music here or there, you know what I'm saying? And that does not necessarily equate to long-term success. You see more people in and out of hip-hop than you do the club on a Saturday night at about 12 in the morning. But either way, I think it's still an interesting topic to have, an interesting discussion to have. Nonetheless, we're going to check it out, man, see exactly what Blackie has to say. I bet he come through with some good insight that I haven't thought of myself. But it's not to say that there aren't any great artists out there like right now. I think a lot of people are killing it. Look at Baby Keem, look at Polo G, look at Easy Meal, look at some of the new guys that are coming up. I think we do have some great talent, but I think it's just a little bit, the entry is just so crazy. If you have some influence now, I feel like they'll just let you in. If you have any type of following, they'll just let you in. Like, they don't make these people with crazy amount of influence and followings. They don't try to turn them into R&B singers. They don't try to turn them into country singers. I don't follow country that often, but they don't try to turn them into anything like that. Blues, you know what I'm saying? Some of that stuff like that. They try to make them into rappers. Like hip hop, they try to, you know what I'm saying, put them in the genre. But that's just my take on it without actually watching the video. Let's see exactly what Blackie got to say.
Isn't really dead, but the path the genre is on is leading to certain aspects of the genre dying. An important conversation right here, and if you appreciate a raw conversation like this, drop a like and don't be stingy. This has actually been on my mind for quite some time. I'm sure you might have a few things to say about it, and I want to start this conversation by taking a look at this article from Billboard. Essentially, they talk about why hip-hop has been on the decline on the charts. Although this is the article that I'm leading this video with, this conversation that I'm gonna have in this video is actually way deeper than what this article is gonna talk about. I'm simply gonna start this convo with this article and then I'll take it from there. With that being said, let's check out this article. As the halfway point of 2023 approaches, hip-hop has yet to grace the top of either the Billboard Hot 100 or the Billboard Top 200 Albums chart. By the beginning of last June, 2022 already boasted #1 albums from 6 different rappers: Gunna, Lil Durk, Tyler the Creator, Pusha T, Future, and Kendrick Lamar. Over on the Hot 100, even amidst Harry Styles, I don't listen to that. Historic 15 week as it was. Actually, that's a good song.
What you got against Harry Styles? I've been seeing a lot of people listen to Harry, so I haven't listened to him either, my guy. But golly, what the, bro? I'm gonna have to react to some Harry Styles now, just off that line alone, because I've seen people react to Harry Styles, and I haven't heard a bad thing about him. But maybe he just got a different flow, a different flavor. He don't want that flavor Kool-Aid, you know what I mean? But let's continue. That's funny.
I like that song. As It Was Rain, rap hits from Jack Harlow, First Class, and Future and Drake, Wait For You, secured runs at #1 by last year's halfway mark. So this article, which a lot of y'all have been sending me, is essentially about how hip-hop hasn't been dominating the charts like it was in the past. So much to the point where half of the year is gone and there's yet a hip-hop album that's charted at #1 this year. Now, that was until the Pink Tape, which I got some things to say about. That's another conversation, and that's kind of surprising.
You know, I want to have that conversation for a second. That's why we got the reaction video. I'm only a minute 35 in, but look, the Pink Tape to me, honestly, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but I do think it was not Lil Uzi Vert's best work. I don't think it was, in my honest opinion. Now, there are some songs on that album that I like, and maybe I should have did a reaction to it, but I heard the album while I was on vacation. I was not going to wait until I got home to do a reaction to it. Maybe I could have, but I was on vacation. I was like, I'm just listening to it, and in my honest opinion, I don't think it was his best work. Now, was it bad by any means? No, I don't think it was bad, but I just think You know, it was long. It had some, you know, songs on there I really didn't care for. And I was driving down the highway listening to it. I listened to one song. I was like, okay, I like this. And then I listened to another song. I was like, it's not exactly what I expect. But I mean, now that I think about it more now, I think it is something to like be said about an album that is super long like that. Like, it was super long. I think it only had like 20 something songs on it. So you kind of Uzi Vert was switching some things up, trying out some different things. I believe very experimental in a way. And so I'm not mad at him for that, because you win some, you lose some. I appreciate an artist who can switch it up and not just give everybody the same old stuff over and over and over again, get fatigued very easily that way. So it's a project you can grow and learn from for sure.
But it's not something I even noticed, mostly because I don't put too much stock in what's hot on the charts, but obviously I'll pay attention to it and I see it, and I know that's usually what the masses pay attention to the most. So this time last year there are a bunch of #1 rap albums like the article mentioned, and then this year we're kind of going through this dip where, you know, that's not really happening. Now, just from some of the numbers I've been looking at and seeing, hip-hop is far from in danger, if you will. Overall, it is, after all, the fastest growing genre, and it's been like that for some time now. I think hip-hop, especially in the last decade, has just seen such an influx of listeners and revenue to the point where it is being prioritized in a lot of spaces, because that's what's making the money, right? That's especially true for the record labels, which we're going to talk a lot about in this video. A lot of major record labels for the last couple years have made it their life mission to allocate a lot of their funds and attention to signing hip-hop acts specifically, and that's obviously the case because that's where the money is right now. Rappers also have a pretty fast turnover rate, and how that connects to the music industry is, out of, let's say, 100 rappers a record label signs, at least 80% of those rappers, statistically speaking, are going to fail. Now, failure not meaning that they won't be able to sustain their career and find some type of success in their own way, more so failure in terms of how a record label views it, because they sign you with the hopes of getting a return on that investment, right? Plain and simple, it's just business. ROI. And there's a cap and limit on how much of their resources can actually be allotted to every single act that gets signed. Now, the budget is there, but in a lot of ways it's not there, because these labels are signing so many people, and in the process they're losing a lot of money. However, they make it all back when they sign someone who makes up for all the other failed acts. So that 20% that either breaks even or succeeds is the reason why they're banking on signing so many people. And it's really a game of how many shots can we take, because at some point one of those shots is going to go in. Not only that, one of those 100 shots is probably going to make up for all the other 99 people who we gave a record deal to and signed. So that's the way the industry is set up right now, period. And it's always been like that, but now what's happened is everything is about filling quotas. It's not how can we serve this artist to become the greatest artist they can possibly become. It's how can we market this artist and make them appear as someone who's greater than what they actually are. Jay-Z said it the best. One time Hove made a great point about how greatness actually takes time to develop, and these days no one wants to put in the time to reach that greatness, i.e. nobody wants to put in the time. And that's especially true for the labels, right? Major labels don't want to take the time to develop these artists because delayed gratification. The industry needs to make money now, like today, and that's at the expense of not only the artists but also the quality of the music. How can we
you know, that kind of goes back to what I was saying. If the label can find somebody who just has some influence, you can make some money. Like, you can make some money, because people going, if you have some type of influence, which I haven't seen a crazy signing yet, but I've seen people get signed and I'm like, that's just because they have like an influence on TikTok. Look at what's her name, Catch Me Outside Girl, whatever her name was. She wasn't no rapper, she wasn't no artist, but I don't know, maybe her music is popping nowadays, but she had a crazy following. So what did they do? You know what I'm saying? Put her in the industry and let her throw some tunes out there. You know, I don't know what she's doing with that now, but all I'm saying is the entry level is not as high as it used to be, especially now that they're just signing people. I did not know, or do I keep up with the rate of which people are getting signed? But just looking at it and listening to what he's saying, I can see how an artist can fail, especially when you're putting the pressure on them to get this and get that done, and you're not letting them actually sit down and make sure they put out the best project possible. I think that's why a lot of times you see, like, especially an album guy, like, let me tell you, see, Tyler, the Creator, for example, he'll put out an album, every 2 years or so, or something like that. The time that it takes to actually put out an album, a great album, a good album, the time it actually takes to actually make a song good, like, how long does that actually take? I don't write lyrics. All I do is like react to them. You know what I mean? So it's an interesting topic that I think is going to develop more as the years go on. Like, how much is too much in hip hop? Like, when are we gonna be tired of the same old stuff? But things evolve, things change, so we'll see how it goes.
Get this music and artists in the quickest way possible to as many people as possible, while spending the least amount of money as possible, while making back the most amount of money. Now that right there is a problem, because with the money being the focal point, what do you think takes a back seat? That's right, the art. The last thing the industry wants to do now is to develop talent into super talent. The industry now wants to find subpar talent with no foundation, prop it up and make it look more grand than it actually is, and market that talent to give off the perception of talent that has been developed. Because developing talent not only takes time, it takes money and it takes resources. The shortcut to that is what they're doing right now. They're discovering an artist who has the potential to appear as a star. The music might even be amazing, but the foundation might be shaky. But it don't matter as long as money can be made. It don't matter as long as we can keep this artist in a position to be seen. Because at some point, due to the nature of constantly getting exposed to something, we as human beings, we eventually find something that we like about the very thing we're getting exposed to. This is marketing 101. If you can put something in front of people time and time and time again, a percentage of those people will start to find good aspects of whatever it is that's being marketed towards them. Now, Ice Spice, who I put on a thumbnail, is a good example of this. Bless her lovely little heart. I have nothing negative to say about the young woman's character, but as an artist and as a brand, she's a great example of this exposure theory we're discussing. Cause she came in the game with a song called Munch.
Boy, you wild for that. What was that? She go back.
With a song called Munch.
Boy, you wild. Boy, you is wild for that one, bro. But look, this is another example. Like, I'm not gonna like shit on Ice Spice's music, but once she popped and got that influence, boom, off to the races. That's a great example. That's a great example. I wonder how she was gonna tie into this, but she had the following. She was trending, insanely trending, and it's still trending, I believe. And so, what do? Turning her into a hip hop superstar. Oh boy, that's a great example. Okay.
It's blowing up and going viral on social media about a year ago, and I vividly remember how the first 2 weeks it was going up, everybody had something negative to say about it. A couple weeks passed and people went from clowning the song to being indifferent to the song to liking the song to loving the song to them becoming a fan of Ice Spice. How interesting. I'm not saying that she's universally loved, quite the opposite actually, but I like Ice Spice more now that I've been exposed to her presence in comparison to when she initially came out. So who's to blame for this, you might ask? Well, the labels, because they're controlling 90% of the music that's surfacing to the top. One of the bigger reasons why hip-hop is able to dominate the charts in the first place has to do with the fact that hip-hop is being prioritized over a lot of other genres by the labels, i.e. these records that eventually go #1 have a lot of money behind them, because getting your record spun on all these major radio stations actually costs money, and so the quality of the music has taken a back seat because the priority is how can we make back the money on this album we're investing all these resources into. And with that being the case, who do you think controls the kind of music that actually gets released? It ain't the artists. And in a lot of ways, and this is the scary part, the artist is now like the supporting opinion to the main opinion. And the main opinion is the label. They're really calling all the shots, and the artist is merely involved in support of that shot. So artists have literally, and we're going to touch on this in a second, but rappers and artists universally have submitted their power to these corporations in hopes of becoming this big success. What does this exactly mean? Well, let's keep on talking.
When you look at them white kids with Raiders hats on, it's the white folks getting pimped. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm making their future. I'm writing down their curriculum. Right now, what I write in my album today, when it comes out in 2 months, that's what white kids is doing. So who really is getting pimped? First off, fuck your bitch in the click you claim.
See, the I in rap industry at one point used to be silent. There was a time when we had rappers like Pac, who was in the industry but never let the industry take the one thing he had which was his authentic voice. Despite being a part of the industry, he never conformed to the standards of it. He kept it real outside and inside of the music, and that came with a lot of pushback. Labels didn't actually want Tupac in his purest form. They wanted a Pac they could mold into whatever it is they wanted to create him into, and he knew this. Pac on several occasions spoke about what he didn't like about labels and the industry. This is something that was depicted on the movie, All Eyes on Me. Before Pac signed to Interscope Records, he had this meeting with 2 label executives who just didn't understand what he was trying to do with his music. What happened specifically was they didn't like the idea of him releasing the song, Brenda's Got a Baby. Now that's a classic record, but obviously the music industry's focus is entertaining people and not emotionally moving people.
Now we do have a couple thoughts, however.
You know, this is such an interesting conversation, especially like this part, which I'm going to get right back to. I just want to say 2 things. One, seeing how anything can get pushed, because I didn't really speak on the way they said earlier. What you see, if you see something and it's catchy, and somebody spin it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, eventually, it's something about something that is catchy, and the way that it can continue to get spun in your head, eventually you're gonna like it. And I think we've been victim to that for a long time, not just music, but like just in general in our day-to-day lives. If you see something enough times, you may find something that is interesting about it at some point in time, especially if you see it all the time, you're hearing it all the time. But I do think at some point in time that can have the opposite effect, especially if it's just straight up trash. But I don't think, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna promote something that's straight up trash. But I've heard some stuff on the radio and I'm like, why do I keep hearing this song? Why do people even like this song? But it's probably because it's trending, and it might be a TikTok dance or something like that out right now with them doing the same song, and it's only a certain portion of the song that actually is catchy, but the whole song gotta get played on the radio or whatever streaming service you use, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. And then this right here is interesting as well too, because I wonder how many people go into the industry. This is my second point, by the way. How many people go into the industry one way and then like get molded into something else because either A, they were afraid to my Google thing is speaking, but they were either afraid to lose out on money, and either that or just afraid to lose out on the opportunity in general. But let's keep going.
Little stuff. Maybe a couple of the tracks that we could just hold off on for now.
Like what?
Brenda's Got a Baby.
So you know who I am, you know my music, and you think that I would actually scrap that song?
Well, to be blunt, Brenda's Got a Baby is depressing.
Now in the end, Pac and Interscope started seeing eye to eye, but that was only when Tupac was able to vocalize to the label executives why this record was so important to release. The only thing they see is, can this be marketed as it is? Pac, however, like the genius that he was, flipped it on him and said, I am the market. This is new, this is fresh, and this record is actually going to impact people on an emotional level. And he was right, because Brenda's Got a Baby came out on October 20, 1991, and here I am talking about it 31 years later. The only reason why Tupac was able to get his way is because he actually believed in his way so much to the point that he was willing to walk away. Rappers these days are not
I was just gonna say, rapper these days are not gonna walk away.
willing to walk
I
away
just
from
talked
the
about
industry.
that. I literally
They're
just said
walking
that. Afraid to
towards
miss
the
out on
industry,
opportunity.
already being willing to conform and sacrifice their authenticity in order to join ship, just so they can have this big infrastructure backing them up, i.e. a record label. And so what happens is the artists have given their power away to the industry because they want to make it in this. There's still that 20% who've maintained their power, but the majority gives it up. And so that has an effect on hip-hop across the board because the bulk of the rappers in the game follow suit. And how does that affect the genre? Well, the quality diminishes and the music is not as pure as it could be, because not only are we dropping a bunch now to satisfy the quotas of the industry, but the majority of what we're dropping has no soul because you gave your soul to be in this industry. You conformed, and that directly has a negative effect on the actual quality, because now we're not connecting with the rapper in his authentic form, we're connecting with a malleable version of the rapper that the industry has created. So the place the music is being dropped from is an inauthentic place. It's coming from the wrong place because so many of our artists have decided to conform to the industry standard. And since the industry standard is we want to make a bunch of money, are you on the same page? The 80% rapper says, yes, I want to make a bunch of money. What exactly do you need me to do? If you say jump, 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 I will jump, jump, jump. If you say sit, sit down, I will sit, sit down. If you say bark, 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 I will roof, roof, roof. Bark, bark, bark. And then there's that 20% who says, yes, I want to make a bunch of money, but what comes with making this money? These are the artists who have similar spirits to guys like Kendrick or J. Cole. See, these guys have made so much money.
Oddly enough, those are I feel like in this current generation, or at least in my generation, those are some of the best, if not the best, of the current generation. And I say current, I wouldn't consider them a Gen Z. I guess I shouldn't say current because now it's Gen Z and it's probably something else now, but Kendrick and J. Cole are like the top two. People are still having discussions on who they believe or like it's better. Is it Kendrick or is it, you know what I'm saying, J. Cole? But oddly enough, the ones that don't conform are usually the best ones. You know what I'm saying? Tupac, Big, you know, all those guys. Who are the best? Probably, you know what I'm saying, didn't conform to whatever the industry was trying to throw at them. So, you see, but I think a lot of people get into hip-hop or any industry and see the money, and they're like, well, I don't think I'm going to last that long, or I don't believe I'm going to last this long. I'm just going to take what's in front of me, and whatever happens, happens. So I think a lot of people have that mindset. They don't think about it long term, and they will just do whatever to make $1 or $2. So I said $1 or $2, probably like $100,000 or $2. But you know, I don't know. I'm not, you know, pocket watching or anything. But hey, the amount of money that they're making is probably more money than they have made in their lives. So they see life-changing money, and they make a life-changing decision. So that's just my 2 cents.
It's not even funny, and they did it righteously. They didn't conform. That's only because they knew their value before the industry saw value in them. So many rappers wait for the industry to co-sign their value before they co-sign themselves. Approaching it from that perspective, when the industry does co-sign you, since the validation is what you are always chasing, you're willing to give it all away for chump change. And that's what happens when you're chasing the validation of the industry. That's how they get you. Most rappers just don't know their intrinsic value as artists, which benefits who? The labels. A person who doesn't know their value is more likely to get taken advantage of. They're more likely to mold themselves after the expectations of the outside world, which that really goes for anything, but especially if you want to make it in the rap industry and the music industry, period. We're so quick to conform, it's literally chipping away at our beloved genre that is hip-hop. Hip-hop has been infiltrated beyond anything I've seen, man, and the saddest part is, with the way things are set up right now, there's absolutely no going back. Record labels got too much power. The average rapper is willing to give away their soul for a $20,000 advance. Shit, even $10K to be fair. And the music is not only lacking in quality, but it's also lacking in heart. It's lacking in conscious. 80% of rappers are sleepwalking through the industry. They're not even conscious. They've been sleepwalking through this shit, following the lead of the standard that's been set in place for them, not realizing they actually have the power to set the standard. But for that to happen, it goes back to what I said earlier, giving your unique power away and conforming to the industry agenda, which is make dollar signs, when really we should be putting the art first and not be so thirsty for them to let us inside the door, right? The average rapper right now is like that famished dog who's dying to eat that piece of meat because he's starving. Once they see that you're fiending for that key like a dope fiend is fiending for that next hit of crack, they're gonna hypnotize you and make you hyper focus on a key, dangle it in front of you so you lose sight of what really matters, which is your authentic voice in its purest form. For you to keep your authentic voice, you can't look at getting inside the club as the end all be all. The quicker artists realize that you're the club the industry is trying to have access to, the quicker we're gonna see a shift in the genre for the greater good. Also, stop giving your unique power away by waiting for the industry to validate you. If we can get that back, okay, if we can just get that in check, I think that will disrupt the whole genre in a good way, and in return we're going to be able to speak life into the culture in ways we couldn't even imagine. Now, just some additional thoughts on this topic right here. The thing about hip-hop now, and just music in general now, the music industry, the last thing the industry wants now is for artists to take their time with music, because the industry is a machine that has to keep on getting fed. And if that nutrition stops, the quality of the nutrition doesn't matter. If it stops, the industry is going to stop. And so artists have conformed to that standard that was set by the industry. And why do artists conform? Well, artists conform because they see other people conforming. And the majority of the industry, I mean, just majority of people in general are sheep, right? So if an industry is changing from the inside out, what's going to happen is anyone who's inside that industry, most people, 80%, 90% of people, they're going to conform because they see other people conform. And so we have this cycle of monkey see, monkey do. And then in the end, the quality of the music ends up taking a hit, like a huge hit. I mean, think about it like this. Do you think people are actually listening to albums now? Are people actually listening to albums now? What happened when Kendrick, one of the greatest rappers of this fucking generation, dropped his last project? What happened? People's attention spans are goldfish status now. People couldn't...
That's crazy. I would say his last album to me was one of the greatest that he has made. I don't know if I want to say it was his best album, but I really enjoyed his last tape. I was on vacation when that dropped, and it was so good. The messages in that album were there from the start. I wish I was making this like rap content, hip hop content, like listening to music and stuff on this channel at that time, because I would have liked to listen to the whole thing on this channel. It was so good. That was, to me, it was very good. Some people didn't rock with it, but I really enjoyed it. I listen to it to this day. But that's an interesting point. Attention span, with the way that like short form content is now like taking over long form content. People don't want to sit down and watch long stuff anymore. They'd rather just get to the point, watch a short about something, miss context in something, than sit down and listen to an entire project. Maybe they'll listen to like 1 or 2 songs on a project, but shit, better cut that shit out. But that's about it. They don't want to listen to an entire project. I never really thought about that. I always thought like if it's a good project, people will sit down and listen to the entire thing. That's why if somebody like Coyle Ray doesn't like sell albums that well, because she'll have like 1 or 2 hits and that's it. Nobody really wants to sit down and listen to a Coyle Ray album. I seen somebody make that point, and a lot of people just say she's a TikTok rapper, and in a lot of ways he probably knows this and is fine with that. You know what I'm saying? She has some catchy songs and stuff like that, good enough for her songs to like, maybe, I don't know if her songs chart or anything like, but I don't really keep up with charts. I just listen to music. I don't really keep up with charts like that. Maybe I will in the future, but that's one of the reasons that kind of go with that point. I always thought that, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a lot of albums aren't like charting highs because people's attention spans are just on 0. They're on like dead mode. But I think a lot of people have albums that are so worthy to be listened to entirely. But you know, that is a good point. That's a good point.
Even pay attention to the theme of the project. People couldn't even pay attention to what he was saying.
That was an amazing album.
You don't hear a lot of music fans
about.
talking about it. A lot of hip hop fans are not talking about that project. Why? It went against the grain.
It did.
I think that album by Kendrick was almost like a test to hip hop.
So good,
can y'all
man.
digest this?
Good.
Let me give you guys this. I'm gonna give you guys this body of work, and I'm gonna see if you guys can digest it. Not just that. I'm gonna see if you guys are gonna be willing to try to digest it. And what happened? What Jay-Z say? Do you fools listen to music or do you just skim through it? Clearly, a lot of y'all motherfuckers are skimming through music now. I don't think people are really listening like they used to. And that's the biggest thing. The listener is also changing. It's not just that the industry is changing. It's how the listener is receiving the music. That's also changing. And so we're going through this behavioral change in the industry, from inside of it and then outside of it. So the people making the music are changing their authentic ways of creating the music, like the artists, right, in hip-hop and just the music industry in general, but specifically hip-hop. The artist is changing. The artist is letting themselves get molded into what the industry wants them to be, and so they create a body of work that fits right in line with that. Like, honestly, I just don't think people really want to hear albums now. People don't want to listen to albums now. And then we're sitting here acting surprised why the quality of the music getting dropped is so subpar. It's subpar because we're not listening. We're not listening with our ears and our minds and our hearts. The music is kind of getting played and we're we're not really hearing what the artist is saying. But the biggest issue is a lot of artists are not even trying to say anything now. They're just saying a bunch of words. There's no purpose behind the words. There's no intention. There's no spirit behind the words. So of course it's gonna fall on deaf ears. You're not making anything worth for me to listen to. And that's not all artists. I'm saying just as a whole in general, right? Obviously I'm talking about the mainstream, and I'm talking about the things that are coming to the surface, because we got to keep in mind, even though there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of artists that are not conforming. Most artists are gonna conform. Most artists are always gonna conform, because that's the easy thing, and because doing it your own way actually takes a lot of effort, and it takes a different kind of spirit to have the confidence to do it your way. Most people don't have that lion spirit. They just don't have it. There's so much money in the music, and so the meaning of the words have taken a back seat. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this particular topic. By the way, I recorded this video like about a month ago, and I'm happy I sat on it because, you know, I just wanted to add that in. But I'm curious what you have to say about this. Any thoughts on it? Give me your thoughts, and yeah, catch you on the next one. I am out.
That's an interesting video for sure. I would say I do agree, and it's interesting because when I was like very small, I think I was in the 3rd grade, and I'm gonna tell the story, then I'm gonna dip, because I'm another 30-minute video. Come on, what are you doing, Hughes? What are you doing? But when I was in the 3rd grade, I remember I was a huge Ludacris fan. When Ludacris dropped his album, I listened from the time that it was out. I listened to that album for months, the entirety of it, each and every song. I'm trying to think, was it Red Light District? I forgot what album that was. I just remember I had it on CD, and this was back in the time when we had CD players, and I had to burn a CD. I mean, a lot of y'all don't know nothing about burning no CD now, but I had to burn a CD. Once I burned the CD, put it in my player, put my headphones on, and it wasn't no good headphones like this, man. It was the cheap, flimsy ones. I got it from Fred's. Like, y'all probably don't even know what Fred's is, but but at the same time, I put the headphones on, I was listening to that CD. I scratched it up. I was heated. Had to make another one, burn another CD. But I say all that to say this: back in the day, I remember like hearing songs. 50 Cent album was another one too. I think it was which one was it? Was it Bulletproof? Was that the name of that album? Massacre? I forget the name of that album, bro. It's been so long. But those 50 Cent and Ludacris, like at a certain point, was like two of my favorite, like in the mid 2000s, like 2000 and maybe, what year was that? 8 maybe? I can't remember. I was in 3rd grade. It might have not been 2008. But either way, I say that to say this: I was listening to it, but now I will say I do find myself too. It's not too many albums that I just generally enjoy. Kendrick's album is the last one I can remember that I really just enjoy it like that. But the albums that have came out now, I don't know which one I just like enjoy it like that. I listened to the Pink Tape in its entirety in the car ride on the, way, to vacation, and it was good, but it wasn't like his best work. But I wanted to see what it brought to the table. But other than that, though, I don't remember. I don't know. These are excellent points that I don't think I have really thought of myself. And so it's going to be interesting to see where albums go. I think people have a insane infatuation with just singles now. And if a single pops, they're going to double down on that one single and not necessarily push the album, because they may be making more money off of just pushing that one single than the entirety of the album, because the album flops, but that single like charted stupid high for a long period of time because they were pushing that one single, and then the single dies off a little bit, then boom, it trends on like social media or something like that for a minute. People dance to it some, and then boom, you make back again, making money off of that one single because people are playing it over again. It like revamped itself. You know what I'm saying? Look at Mariah Carey's like song that people doing the dance to. Like that one single is now later on. I'm not comparing Mariah to like the rest of the industries now, but what I'm saying is like singles just seems like the new direction to go. Just get a hit and then try to find one more hit, and then maybe you will make a lot of money doing it that way than putting everything into an album, which the consumer base is not going to listen to anyway, even though there may be some great songs on that album. Hopefully all that makes sense. But let me know what y'all think about this entire situation. I thought it was a great discussion, man. I'll see y'all in the next video.